All right, everybody, it is 4 o'clock. It is very possible that we are going to have some folks joining us. I'd like to introduce myself and thank you for being here today. My name is Tara Krebs. I'm an account manager with Get More Math. I'm a former teacher from Pennsylvania. I taught for 13 years and used Get More Math in my classroom for 5 of those years. And so I'm very excited to be here today and share with you a little bit about how Get More Math might help you and specifically share our new collection for the NC Check-ins 2.0. I'm also going to introduce Katie Bickle. Katie is one of our account managers, and Katie is going to be here manning the chat so that if anybody has any questions, Katie will be here to hopefully document and answer your questions, or at least let me know about them so that I can answer them if that's the case. So thanks again for being here. Hopefully you can all see my screen. If you have any issues with technology, please let us know. And all of you will be receiving a recording of this webinar. So I have fingers crossed, hoping I don't make any mistakes. But if I do, you're going to have them in a recorded video that you can see when this is over. Katie.
Hey Tara, could you check my settings and assign me as an alt host?
Maybe.
Sorry to pause the flow there.
No, that's okay. I don't know how to do that.
The three dots up in the corner of my profile or of my screen, the little three dots there. If you click on that, you should be able to.
Make host?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. All good?
Yep, all good.
Thanks.
Okay, you may resume. Sorry, everyone.
All right. And thanks everybody else for watching us fumble our way through that. We're now back to our regular scheduled program. I'm going to flip my screen here and share two things about how you as a teacher can use Get More Math. The 30-day trial is something that's available to everyone. You're going to receive an email after this webinar with a link in it that you can create that 30-day trial account. It will give you complete and full access to Get More Math. We're not restricting any of our features. Another option, if you'd like to explore our program a little bit further, is through a campus pilot partnership. And I am going to take a moment to explain that in case you have an interest in moving forward with that. And then anyone that is interested in that afterward, you're more than welcome to stick around and ask me any questions. The campus pilot partnership is an extension of that initial 30-day access, and it's actually an offer for all of the teachers on your campus to use and explore Get More Math for free for the entire 25-26 school year. It gives you full access to using Get More Math with as many students as you like. It does require the completion of three 30-minute trainings. Those trainings can be done at your own pace using recorded videos, or you can sign up for live Zoom sessions. And you can do those as a group or as an individual. The only other requirement to participate in the pilot is to have an administrator give approval for that. And so that can be done simply by an email saying we want a pilot, or a phone call, or a Zoom meeting with me, depending on the scenario. So now that you know what the offer is, I'm going to share with you what you all signed up for. You'd like to see our NC check-ins skill collections. And so this is something that our product team has worked on very diligently over the past year. And so I'm going to actually hop out of my screenshot PowerPoint and go directly into our live teacher application so you can see what this looks like. Within the live teacher application in Get More Math, there are three tabs that a teacher will see. The first one is their classes tab. The second is their work tab, which is what I'm showing right now. And the third is a reports tab. The work tab is where you'll access the NC check-ins collection, but it's also where you can access all of our skills. Teachers, no matter what grade level they are, have access to all of our content. So if you are a sixth grade teacher, you do not just have access to sixth grade, you have access to everything within our skill bank. You can view those skills by any of these headers up at the top of the screen. One of the ways is by topics, and that's organized by grade level. We also then have North Carolina specific collections, and this is where you can view our skills based on the standards for North Carolina. So you can find skills directly related to particular standards, or you can look for specific end of course practice based on a scaffolding or grade level difficultiness. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. And then there's also an NC check-ins folder. And this is where you'll see we've created specific assignments that are separate and specific to the check-ins. So these skills would coincide with this particular check-in. This is assignment one. These skills also with check-in, the first check-in, and you can use these skills to prepare your students for the exam. And then we have also already created a sample exam for you that you can use with your students for each one of those assessments. So very user-friendly for teachers, and we hope that that is something that you will dive into through that 30-day account. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can reach out to us at any time. I will point out two more things when you're in your live teacher application that I think are extremely valuable, especially as you're exploring. One of them is in the bottom right-hand corner. This is our in-app tech support. This is real people in live time that are here to answer your questions. And then in addition to that, in the upper right-hand corner, hidden in this profile icon, which is where everybody thinks, oh, that's just to change your password. It's actually where we hide all of our valuable treasures. Help videos, help articles, and teacher resources are available here to help you get started in using Get More Math with confidence. So that's how you access our check-ins collections. And again, that is available. I only showed you at fourth grade, but it is available at all grade levels from grade 3 up through and including Math 1 and Math 3. Okay, so now that we've covered that, I'd like to go back into our demo and explain a little bit about why Get More Math was created. Get More Math was actually created by a math teacher. His name is Josh Britton. He's actually become a really good friend of mine over the years, and he noticed during his first year of teaching that most math teachers followed a pattern. During a typical day, they would teach a lesson and then they would give practice to their students on that particular lesson, an opportunity for students to show that they had learned what he taught. Most math teachers in his building were doing that day after day for a whole unit. And at the end of the unit, they would review and then give an assessment. And I'll be honest, this is exactly how I taught. And so when he was speaking about this, I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I do. This is great. Okay. And then you do that all year long. And we test our students on the material that we've presented to them in chunks. And then we ask our students to take an end of the year test. And we expect them to remember all of the material that we've covered all year long. And for most students, we're hoping that they feel very confident as they walk into that end of the year assessment. For Josh and for myself, what we both experienced was that more realistically, our students remembered what we had taught at the end of the year. If this was April and March and February, the farther we went back in our content, the fuzzier the content was for our students. And actually, most of our students were very concerned about entering the end of the year test. And Josh sums this all up by saying what was working for him in the short term did not work for him in the long term. His students were not retaining the material that they had mastered during the year. They did well on unit tests, but were struggling to remember that material for the end of the year. And so that is exactly why Get More Math was created, to improve long-term retention for your students. We've got two goals. One is to provide your students with spiral review. And if you can provide your students with spiral review consistently, and it becomes an expectation in what they're doing every day in class, we believe that this will improve long-term retention for your students. You still get to teach your lesson, You still obviously are going to have your students practice that new material, but we're also going to have your students given the opportunity regularly to practice old material in the same amount of time as you were previously using. So how does that work? Because for me as a teacher, I'm like, I was always desperate for time. This is how Get More Math works. You are the teacher, you are presenting the lesson. So while it's important for us to share with you what Get More Math does, it's also very important to understand what Get More Math does not do. And Get More Math does not teach for you. We are here to support your efforts. So you present the content. You can use Get More Math to generate unlimited examples to support your instruction. Our skill bank is dynamically generated, so it's not going to repeat the examples. So that is lovely and a time saver. It's also very useful because you can print out guided notes that will be different than the student's digital practice. And it will also give you the opportunity to model exactly what they'll see when they log into that digital practice session. It's where the digital practice session becomes very different from any other program I've ever used. Get More Math allows you to provide targeted practice. So the new material that you just taught, almost like an exit ticket, but then also gives you the opportunity to spiral through prior content. And that prior content, here's one of the things that makes Get More Math so different. The prior content is only the prior content that you as the teacher have previously assigned. It's not something that we as Get More Math people have decided all seventh grade students should know. It is strictly what you have already assigned within your platform. So you'll have access to the North Carolina Skill Bank, right? And you will be going through this skill bank and deciding what content to assign to your students. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll notice I'm in my work tab now as a teacher, right? On the left-hand side of my screen, there's nothing here. And that's because you will be building your assignments. Once you build your assignments that match up with each of your lessons, this is yours to keep for the rest of your life. So you only have that lift, that creation of assignments one time in Get More Math, and then it's yours to use forever. Let's pretend, okay, we're going to go to imaginary land and we're going to pretend that you are in Unit 1. You've taught the first 4 lessons. You've actually created these first 4 assignments that match up with the content in those first 4 lessons. And today is lesson 5. You're teaching least common multiple. You go to our skill bank and you find a skill that matches up with least common multiple. You click on it, and here's the only thing you have to do. Decide the number of points you want your student to earn in both new material and spiral review. When I say points, that's important because these are not 3 questions on new material and 8 questions in spiral review. They are questions answered correctly on the first attempt. That's heavy. That means this 11-point assignment could take 18 or 19 questions to complete for students. The other really important part to recognize is that while you chose the content on the new material, you don't have to choose the content for spiral review. Get More Math is going to choose that content directly from your previous assignments, and it's going to do it in a way that is prioritizing work differently for each of your students based on their strengths and weaknesses. So let's take a look at that student view. This is a student logged in to Get More Math on that lesson 5 11-point assignment. You'll notice that it is asking them to create or to complete 3 problems on least common multiple and get them right on the first attempt. It's also requiring them to answer 8 questions from spiral review. Each of the squares in this spiral review section for students was previously a targeted skill. And so once again, the skill that you chose as a targeted skill today or as the new material will automatically become part of the spiral review, and the student will now practice that skill for the remainder of the year. This is what it would look like at the end of maybe your first unit. Let's fast forward till March. By March, you've covered a lot more material. And so the student's spiral review is much larger. Get More Math wants to prioritize the work in that section in two ways. The first way is through our color system. These squares are colored in a way to indicate students' ability level in each of those areas. When you first assign a skill to a student, the square that is aligned to that skill will start as white. As a student progresses and makes several attempts, the color of the square will change to either red or yellow, depending on their performance. You can use that as an exit ticket. Without any handing out of papers, without any looking over the student's work, you will know by the end of class whether all of your students have understood the material or if they are struggling with the material. We don't stop there. We want to know that your students are going to retain that information. And so over a period of time, repeated access to those skills, students can level up to proficiency. And that is indicated by a green square on their screen. Over even longer periods of time, if they are continuously successful, they can level up to black squares with silver and gold stars. Now, all of this is intrinsically motivating for the students because they all want to succeed and get to the next level. But it's also extremely beneficial for the teachers because we use this color system to individualize each student's spiral review practice session. I mentioned earlier that Get More Math is a points-based system. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see that there are 30 points earned by this student. Students can only earn points if they click on the squares that have dollar signs on them. So while this is a cumulative spiral review, students are going to have certain skills prioritized for them, and here's how we make that decision. Let me make it clear. The teachers do not have to make this decision. The software is doing this for you. We have two goals. One is that we want students to learn the material they've been taught. The second is we want them to remember it. And so we are going to prioritize skills most often. So dollar signs will be placed on white, red, and yellow squares most often. And so students can earn points by completing answers correctly on the skills that they are struggling with the most. However, we don't want them to forget those skills. And so we are also going to occasionally revisit skills, even that they have mastered, in an effort to consistently maintain their ability. That's a lot to let sink in. We also then give that same information to the teachers. And so from your teacher account, I'm now going to show you the Classes tab. From the Classes tab, you will see at the end of class, if you click on your spiral review and the skill you assigned today, you will see the color of the square for each of the students in your class. In addition to that, you can revisit this screen in the future and be able to view a report that is now showing you the current level of ability for each of your students. Think about that. You didn't have to give another assessment, but Get More Math is checking in with them to see how they're doing. In my mind, this is so much more powerful than a single exam because it's giving you current level of ability for your students in all of the skills you've taught all year long. Now, as a teacher who used this in my classroom, this report was my favorite one, not only because it told me who was doing well and who was struggling with the material, but because if from this screen I clicked on problem, Get More Math did my work for me and gave me examples of that skill that I could then teach my students. If I click on this spiral arrow in the right-hand corner, it's going to change this example and give me another one. And I could do that over and over and over again. And I, as the teacher, did not have to come up with multiple examples. I just needed to click on the word problem. So this screen for me was amazingly helpful. The second favorite thing about Get More Math for me was the assessment piece. The assessment piece in Get More Math is game changing. You can use our spiral review. Remember at the very beginning of this webinar, I said we have two goals in mind, and one of them is to improve long-term retention for students through spiral review. But the second goal, and this is something that you can either jump in right away or maybe add later as you get a little bit more familiar. But the second thing is cumulative assessments. If we are expecting our students to be able to pass a cumulative assessment at the end of the year, maybe we could improve their chances if we gave them cumulative assessments throughout the year. And so our software was created with that goal in mind. And the way that works is, again, from my spiral review screen, I can see a running history of all of the skills I've assigned all year long. From this screen, I can toggle those skills by the date that they were added. And so if I was just giving a unit exam, I could just click on some of these skills that I recently assigned, and I could create an exam that included those skills. However, because this is a running history, I can also go back and easily include any content from as far back from the beginning of the year as I want to, create an exam with just a click. The other piece from this screen that's extremely helpful is that it's also showing you your student's ability. So if you are looking to include data in your decision on what skills to include and what skills not to include on that exam, this is doing it all from one screen. Now that was nice. It allowed me to create an exam that included new material and old material. Very easy. I can choose the number of questions. I get to make my students have the same problems or different problems. All great. From a student's perspective, they take the exam and turn it in, and you as the teacher are now seeing that exam. You can see that this was a 20 problem exam and Carol got 5 of the questions incorrect. Get More Math will automatically do the grading for you. Beautiful time saver. It will also allow you to see the exact answers that your students gave, and it will give you the capability of overriding the decisions in regards to credit that were given for the answers provided. All of that was wonderful, but none of that was my favorite part. My favorite part is what happens when you click on Save Grade. When you click on Save Grade, Get More Math automatically generates a corrections assignment for every single student. This corrections assignment is going to require the students to fix the exact problems that they missed on the exam, and then it is going to give them additional practice in every single one of those skill areas. This is done automatically for you, and it is different for every single student. In addition to that, Get More Math also creates a follow-up exam for you. For every student, it is automatically created. It will only include the skills that they missed, and it is automatically graded. When I tell you that Get More Math was a game changer for me in my classroom, I am not lying, but I am also going to tell you that in my personal life, this was the real deal. I got weekends back, I got evening time back, and I also was able to appease my administrators because this in-between piece, the requirement for students to actually prepare for a follow-up exam, so much more powerful than what I had been doing. I had been giving them exams, but I was creating them and I was making the answer keys because there was this in-between part where they had to complete the corrections assignment almost always, almost always. they were showing growth and improvement on that retake. And it was that in between requirement of the corrections assignment that I believe made the difference. Plus, it saved me time. Um, I think that we have covered just about everything. It is 4:25, so I've got 5 minutes left. I do want to revisit the free pilot offer and make sure that everyone who wants to knows what they need to do to move forward, if you'd like to move forward with the pilot. And so, very clearly, we do require administrator approval, whether you're going to have one teacher participate or whether it's going to be everyone on a campus or even bigger, everyone within the district. We do need an administrator to give approval. That administrator can be a principal, an instruction coach, a math department chair, curriculum director, whoever makes most sense in your situation. They can reply to the email that you'll have waiting for you with, "We want to pilot." The next step would be for them to then submit a staff roster, which will be the teachers that will be participating and their email addresses, as well as your IT department contact, so we can make sure that we mesh together with the systems that you have going. In addition to that, we are going to need to know whether you would prefer to have your trainings done in a live Zoom session with one of our trainers, just like this, or if you would prefer to watch recorded videos. Lastly, that administrator would be expected to meet with me 2 or 3 times throughout this school year in an effort to make sure that we are meeting your needs and that your teachers are understanding all of our features. So the only other requirement for the pilot is that the teachers do actually complete the 3 trainings. And the way that works, I'll just repeat it. The initial access for teachers is for 30 days, and then a training completion extends that access for 60 more days. The second training completion gives them 60 more days, and the third gives them until July 31st of 2026. When we are done here today, actually in about 2 hours, because we've got to download this video and edit out anything silly that I might have said unintentionally, you are going to have an email that looks similar to this. It won't be exactly like this, but it will give you the opportunity to watch a recording of this particular webinar, and it will give you the opportunity to create a 30-day teacher account. So if this is something that you are interested, please forward this email to your team so that they can watch the video and that they can create teacher accounts, and that as a team, you can decide if this is something that makes sense to continue with Get More Math. At this point, I'm going to end the webinar and say that never do you ever get out before the bell, right? So it's 4:28 my time. If anyone has any questions, I do see that the chat has been blowing up. Katie, is there anyone who has any questions or things that they'd like to see before we call this a day?